All right, so the time has finally come. I have finished the sketchbook. This took quite some time. I have never finished a sketchbook before. I always get like a percentage of the way through and then get a new sketchbook and start drawing in that one, and then it gets stored away. So I'm really excited about this. There is all sorts of goodies in here, and I'm really excited to give you guys a little tour of it. And first, before we get into that, I'd like to give you some backstory. I got this back in early 2022, shortly after I got my first book published. And the original thought was, this is watercolor, has a lot of sheets in it, and I was going to use it to make a second coloring book. And then that idea spread, and the idea became that I wanted to, make prints out of it. And I have torn out some pages to scan, since it's hard to scan a 3-ring notebook in a scanner and get a good quality scan. And I've also torn out a few pages from my little brother drawing, give him a sheet or two to draw on. So this isn't the original 100 and how many sheets? I'm not seeing the number on here, but there are a great many sheets that I have torn out. So this is not the complete set, but a lot of them are. And I'd like to go through, look at all the things I've drawn and comment on it, give a little art critique, and talk about my thoughts and feelings about the drawings before breaking into a new sketchbook, which I have bought. And my little brother has since christened. I've taken out those pages, but he drew a little in it because he was bored and needed something to do. And I'm like, here, draw. So we'll be drawing in that one coming up soon. And for the time being, let's get right back into this tour. I'm really excited to look back at all the things I've drawn over the past few years. All right, let's get into it. All right, here we are with the sketchbook. You can see it's a little worn out. I even used the back as a thing to not mess up my table. So the first drawing, this was originally going to be a coloring page. This is just a hodgepodge. I was experimenting around trying to come up with new patterns, and there are some patterns. Like, I haven't done something like this in a while, so maybe I'll incorporate that into my new coloring book and do a page like this. But yeah, this is just, a typical ink pattern. This took quite a long time to do, and it was a lot of fun. This one was, and we have some doodles. Some of these were done by me, some of these were done by my brother. We were just doodling it on a page. Simple as that. There are a few pages in here where they're just scribbles. And this one is also just scribbles, but I was experimenting with this one. The idea was it was going to be a print, but it never became a print. But I like the idea. I might do a coloring page like this, but with more scribbles and less dark contrast. And then this one the point of this one was just to fill a page. I didn't know what to draw, and I didn't want to leave a blank page, so I did this. Kind of spiral galaxy and spacey, and there's a couple of others like this in this sketchbook, but just a simple get the practice drawing. And this one, I know this is a very boring page. I actually have stickers of this one. Originally I wanted to make stickers, so I drew this design and a comet design. Let me see if I can find a sticker real quick to show you guys. All right, yeah, I have the sticker. This one is true to size, and the print quality came out nicely. And here is the other one that was a page and a sticker. Is this two? I grabbed two. And I usually have these available for sale at craft shows, or I give them out to friends and family just because I wanted to see if I could make my pattern stickers. So this design I tore out of the sketchbook to get a good scan, and this one I managed to get a good scan and leave it in. So that was the original idea behind this drawing, was just to do sticker designs, and I am not against doing more. This is a page actually me and my brother did yesterday. He drew a gnome, and we're doing a little drawing contest. He insisted. The prompt was whimsical shoes, and he asked what whimsical was, and there was a gnome painting. So I'm like, yeah, gnomes are whimsical. So he drew a gnome. And here was one I did, and I think I used Prismacolor or Copic markers. I have them, but they're all dying. But I wanted to just do a classic color and then add the ink afterward. And I think this one turned out really nicely. I think I wanted to scan this, shrink it down and make pins out of it. I did not end up doing that. I just kept it as is. But still, I like how it turned out. And keep in mind, these ink drawings take several hours to do. So there's a lot dedicated to it. And I didn't color the back page because the ink bled. And of course, this is another ink drawing, but this one, instead of using markers, this was the first time I ever used watercolor. I used watercolor pencils and then wet it down. So I was actually pleasantly surprised at how well watercolor takes the ink. This one, I don't remember what type of pencils. There's some spots in here where the ink didn't take as well as I would have liked. I'm thinking that's either because it didn't wet down the pencil enough, or I was using a brand of pen that was just dying on me. And this one, of course, was going to be used for pins as well and maybe prints, but I've since decided that sketchbooks are just going to be for pleasure, drawing for videos, drawing different things. And then this was a spiral planet, and you can see where a couple pages were torn out. This one, I was trying to draw like an icon or a logo before I decided to just use the planet painting that I had. My idea was going to add words after the fact, but I never did anything with that. Maybe I will when I get into digital, or in the future, I'll design a better logo, but that's what this one was for. And I was experimenting and doodling this one. I originally did the watercolor with the intent to try doing a logo on top of it. And then I decided, nah, let's just do a drawing. And I wanted to do spacey since I had the blue and purple watercolor. I really like how this turned out, tracing the watercolor marks out and then adding ink on top of it. And it's not as full as I typically do, but I really like how it turned out. And then here is one. I did this just after finishing my second coloring book. I did a few drawings in here out of pleasure, and I really love drawing mushrooms. I just think they're fun to draw. You can get really wacky, and the pattern, I wanted to do something a little trippy and weird. So I drew it with the mushrooms with pencils, and then I inked it, and then I didn't draw the concentric lines of the mushrooms with a pencil. I did that all by pen. And then I thought, let's color and see how it looks. If I were to do this one again, I'd probably do the mushrooms with a pencil and then the outline in marker, because I like how mushrooms look with pencil. And I mean, other than that, I think this one turned out really fun. It was really wacky and enjoyable to draw. And these were just some doodles, more mushrooms. Mushrooms and crystals, I like using those. I just like geometric shapes and the weird, wacky, flowing shapes that you get out of mushrooms. So these were just some doodles that I was doing. And here's another one of those flowing patterns I was doing. I didn't know what to draw, and I figured this would be fun, and that's what I did. I just drew flowing patterns, and it's almost like two spiral galaxies kind of merging together. I really like it. And it's a way to give my abstract art style a spacey feel, which I'm a big fan of outer space, so a lot of fun. And then more crystals with lines. This one, I think I made a mistake somewhere, but you probably couldn't point it out. I can't even point it out, but I was trying to follow a certain pattern, and then I done goofed with that pattern. I don't know what it is. And this one was colored slightly differently than the other one, and instead of coloring each ring different, I blended. I think I did it in more of a spiral instead of just like concentric lines. And I think maybe somewhere along the way I did concentric lines. I don't know, maybe here, but whatever works. Art is art, and it's just a sketchbook. And this page is fun. You can tell I draw on this a lot because the graphite has blurred, but this I drew after Whooper Community Day. I was inspired to draw the perfect boys. So I drew the original Whooper and Quagsire, and then I drew Paldean Whooper with Claudsire, and did a little shading. And it's not the best work, but it was fun to draw, and I wanted to draw Whooper, so I could probably draw Whooper from memory now because I was looking up so many references. And then, of course, another classic abstract art piece. We'll talk about the slug later. Simple patterns, and I was mixing things up, trying to come up with new patterns. And I'm seeing some stuff in here that I'd like to incorporate into other works. So it's always good to look back at your art and see what you can take from what you like and can take from previous works, and what you don't like and won't use again. So, especially with abstract, groovy patterns like these, it's always good to look back at what you want to change. And then, of course, the bunny sea slug. I love these little guys. They're just so cute. And I just wanted to draw one. I don't know what compelled me to draw one, but I wanted to draw one, and so I did. And they're simple drawing, super cute. And I think I did the creature justice. And then here are some drawings that this is just some scribbles. I was actually trying to do drawings for this one originally I tried to do in marker, but I didn't like how drawing my patterns with marker, so I just eventually went and did it with pen. And then this one, and then the next page, this one, I did as like drawing B-roll for a video. You can see marker. I could probably go in and touch this up with a pen and make it look better, but marker doesn't quite yield itself for the crisp, clean lines that I like. But it was for my getting motivation video, and that thing was terrible. It sounds like I'm reading an essay in front of a classroom. It's terrible. That was the first time I ever used a script, and the last time I ever used a script. So, and then of course, there was a similar pattern on the last abstract art piece. I wanted to see what it would look like if I did this, and honestly, this turned out a lot of fun and really weird. And I should incorporate this into more abstract drawings as well for coloring book projects. The idea was like melting lines with concentric barriers, and there's two lines and each are dripping in opposite directions. I can tell the mark pens weren't quite cooperating with this one. There's still some white spots and some saturation issues. And then on the next page, even more mushrooms. This one I was doing like a case study where I looked up images of different mushrooms and I was just sketching them. And this one I took a little more time to do like crystals at the base, and maybe I should have colored this one, but it was a lot of fun. And I just think they're neat and they're fun to draw. So there's a few pages in here where I drew them. And then this one I was experimenting with, and I didn't finish because my arm was in a lot of pain. I had just gotten this tattoo and I was drawing on my lap while my sister was getting hers done. I actually used this kind of thing later on, and this one is my outer space doodles. We're getting into the era where I started filming drawing in my sketchbook, and I like how some of these turned out, like the planet here. That one turned out really nicely. The moon is all right. It's not the best, but this is me getting into drawing things that aren't just abstract patterns. So I think it's really good. And then, of course, we're into the fall. This mushroom sketch that I did. Very loose, very fast, but I like how it turned out. And this one, of course, if you watch the video I mentioned, I saw a hole in the base of a tree filled with like a cluster of mushrooms like this, and I was like, that's neat. I want to draw it. I didn't take a photo of it. I just drew it off of my memory, and honestly, I think this turned out really nicely, and it's really starting to branch out and get colored pencil work done better. And then, of course, we have the Halloween doodles. I love how the pumpkins turned out. Honestly, the cats, are okay. I want to work on drawing animals more, but you got to start somewhere. So I would do the cats differently, or try the cats a different way. Maybe I'll do some practice cat anatomy later, but I really like how the pumpkins turned out. They're so goofy. And of course, we have this watercolor drawing, did for video. I had never done my patterns in watercolor, and it's kind of messy, but abstract art is generally messy, and it's not always crisp, clean lines. So I'd like to experiment more with watercolor patterns. And then here's my axolotl sketches. I want to stylize them a little more. They're cute, but I think I can improve a lot. Like with my anatomy, like the feet are actually, the way I drew their feet is pretty accurate, if I'm being honest. My family has axolotls, and their feet look like a 8-year-old drew it. But yeah, I'd like to draw more animals, and you have to start somewhere, and this is where I'm starting at with anatomy. And then this page is, didn't know what to draw, so I just started doodling. Like, I wanted to draw a snail with a human face, and I'm like, let's give him human legs. He'll be fast that way. He is a horrible creature and just awful. I doodled the dragon. I guess this is supposed to be a breakfast demon, and this dude eating cake. I don't know. I was just drawing haphazardly and having fun with it, and sometimes that's all you need to do to develop your style, is just haphazard doodles without any topic or reason. And then this page, I'll take a closer look. This one is a painting I did, well, abstract watercolor painting I did, and I did film a video of this one. And honestly, I love how this one turned out, and it's really pretty. So, and I wanted to ink it, but I'm like, I didn't know if inking it would ruin it or not. So on the next page, on this page, I did the same style of watercolor and inked it. And then, of course, the Rat Man. I had a dream about the Rat Man, and he was a whimsical fellow who liked to stare up at the sky. And there were weird rainbows in the dream. They're going the wrong direction for rainbows, but he likes staring up at the sky, and I'm like, I need to draw this guy. So I didn't want to draw him for a video because I didn't want to stress about getting it good. I just wanted to draw it in my mind. So I drew the Rat Man. The page is like blurred. They're all going to do that in a sketchbook where you draw on every single page. But I think I really like how this turned out, and I want to continue developing this. This is really the first animal drawing I've done in a long while that I actually really like how it turned out. So anatomy could use a little work, but I think this is a good starting point for drawing animals. And then this, I was doing a gesture drawing of the or sketch of this Grim Reaper holiday plush I had. It's been a while since I've drawn a still life, so I figured I'd sketch it out real quick with pen, see how it turns out, and it looks pretty close. Let me pull him out. I'd say, yeah, he's pretty close. He's still sitting on my shelf, even though Christmas is over. And then, of course, the science mice, the drawing prompt, because I didn't know what to draw. And still, I'm improving my animals, and that's what matters. I want to continue to draw and learn how to draw different things other than abstract patterns. And then this page, I was doing a study, I'm calling it a study, but I just wanted to draw some plants. So I drew a couple of trees, I don't know, some kind of flower, and I was just drawing. I did use references for this, but it wasn't like strict, make it realistic. It was more like just try to draw some trees, and that's what I did. I like how the cactus and the weeping willow and the pine tree turned out. So I can draw plants, so that's one thing we know I can draw. And then here is an abstract pattern, and didn't want to cover the whole page. I wanted to see what I could do with not covering a whole page. I was tempted to do a second border outline, but after doing the first, I thought it looked just fine the way it was. So I kept it from there. And I like how this one turned out. It's very crisp, clean, simple. Well, not simple compared to my filling the whole page with pattern. I quite like how this turned out. There's a lot of positive and negative space here. And I might be able to scale this down in size and make like fun stickers or graphics out of it. So I will definitely be using this in the future. And then, of course, I have to turn the notebook. It is my plate full of planets. This was another drawing prompt I did, and there is a video about it. And I like how this one turned out. I think it's a great start, and I'm definitely improving my work. I like watercolor I like colored pencil where it still looks like it's pencil. I like seeing the lines and seeing the texture. I know some people don't, but to each their own. I like having texture. And it just gives it that hand-drawn characteristics, so I like that. And then this one, second to last page, we're holding it upside down. This one I did with scented markers for a video, and then afterward I went back, inked it. I neatened up the black I did with the markers, added some outlines, and I think it really makes it pop. It's groovy, it's wacky, it's weird. And then the last page, this one I literally just finished, is another abstract piece. So this one, I also did the rainbow background in that video as a little bonus. I'm like, I have the markers out. Let's just do it real quick. And I added the black patterns, and it was just, might as well start and finish the sketchbook in the same exact way. And it was, it was fun to draw on that weird post with the dot at the end of it. I used a little here. And then I really used a lot of classic motifs in this one. And I think this is a great example of how you can just always take a new spin on the same classic patterns. So and that's the whole sketchbook. So I just about filled an entire sketchbook. How many pages? It says 36. Is it really 36? Huh. I could have sworn it was more. But, yeah, so that was my sketchbook. And I really had fun drawing it. It took quite a long time. And my new sketchbook, which I have right here, it's a mixed media sketchbook and has 60 sheets. So we'll see if it takes twice as long to fill, but there will be content coming from that one. And I'm really curious to see how these pages hold ink, because this is a mixed media sketchbook and this one is a watercolor. So it'll be interesting, and there will be plenty more art and art-related content coming in the future. So I hope you enjoyed, and maybe you got some ideas or inspiration, or just like seeing what people draw. If you made it this far, I would not be upset if you considered liking and subscribing. And comment down below what your favorite drawing out of this was. And until next time, stay creative.